Welcome to Talking with Tony, here on AM 700 KSEV. Straight talk from a decorated Marine, successful lawyer, business owner, and philanthropist. Now, here's your host, Tony Busby.
All right. I wonder if Matthew McConaughey has that trademarked or copyrighted. Not sure. Anyway, it's Talking with Tony. Here we are on a Friday afternoon. Here we are the day before Independence Day, July 3rd. I'm thinking about all the things that have happened in the first 6 months of this year. We're doing Facebook Live. If you find me on Facebook and follow me on Facebook, you can watch me here. And let me, I don't cut a very nice figure. I'm just going to tell you. It's not the best thing you've ever seen. I'm sitting here at my ranch house in Northeast Texas. Frances is over there making herself some soup. I'm not sure what she's doing. Frank is in the studio. But let me, before we get going,
but at least I have clothes on.
Well, Frank, if you could see me, I actually have a T-shirt on.
Well, I don't know whether you had anything on. You said you don't make a very nice figure. I assume you just got out of the tub.
Hey, no, Frank, I'm telling you, even when I'm dressed, man, I don't look that good. Okay, that's what I'm trying to suggest here. But before we get into this too much, because last week's show was the best show I think we've had, and that's because, Frank, you didn't curse as much, and I really appreciate that. I really do. Now, let me say, the ground rules of this show, let me just make sure everybody's clear. The ground rules of this show, Facebook Live, if you're watching Facebook Live, these are the ground rules of this show. Go to Facebook and you can watch me in my cowboy hat that I got for one of my Christmas parties. I'll be honest, around Antioch Ranch, I rarely wear a cowboy hat, Frank. I typically wear a baseball hat. But for the show, because it's almost Independence Day, because it's you, Frank, because it's just a special occasion, I put on my cowboy hat. I'm assuming you're wearing your Trumper hat.
Absolutely.
Well, I figured that. Now,
actually, I'm on red, white, and blue, my friend.
God bless you, my friend. God bless you. There still is something called America, is there not?
If we say,
or are we going to change the name of it, Frank? All right, you know what, Frank? Before I even give the ground rules, I'm going to let you go on your rant. You ranted on me at 5 o'clock when I called you to do a pre-show show because obviously we vet everything we say.
We didn't hardly talk.
Go on your rant. America.
No, I got a lot of rants, but I'll tell you this. It's called the United States of America, right? And with all this stuff going on now, changing everything, like, oh, by the way, before I get to that, I want to just tell the people who wrote in last week about the quote that I kept giving every week. It was from George Orwell. And yes, it was in the late...
We all know it's 1984, Frank. We know that.
No, you know that, but the people, I asked them to consider it, the folks who were listening to it, and they responded last week in comments. But let me go further here, okay? So since we live in the present, this is called the United States of America, and since they want to tear down everything else, which we can talk about in a little bit, but if they want to tear down everything else, I'm sure they want to tear down George Washington. They're talking about some guy wanted to tear down Jesus because he looked too much like a European in the depictions. Now they're going to have to change the name from the United States of America because the name America comes from a map that in Spain in the 1500s that was drafted by Amerigo Vespucci. Yeah, he's an Italian. But of course, they're no good anymore because.
Well, hey, listen, we're going to tear down the Columbus statue. We're changing the name of America, my friend.
No, I'm going to talk about that because that has personally insulted me in Cleveland, and I'm going to go on a rant later on about that. But I'm telling you, this is Amerigo Vespucci, so it can't be the United States of America anymore. It's got to be, I don't know.
I don't know what it's going to be.
Oh, it's going to be the United States of China and Russia. How about that? So we can all be communists, and that's what they're trying to do to us. That's what it's going to be. The United States of UK, United States, China, and Russia. We're going to be a new country. United States of Russia and China.
I can tell you got this pent up frustration. You need to get this off your. It's cathartic. You need to get it off your chest. But before we do, let me go over the ground rules. If I say something that offends you, which I likely will not do, hold it against Frank. If Frank says something that offends you, which he likely will do, hold it against Frank. Look, we're not here really to look after your feelings and talking with Tony, and Frank. We have a department for that. We have it. Frank, have you met all the people working overtime, busier than one-armed paper hangers in our look after your feelings department? Have you met these folks?
Oh yeah, I've met them, and I've met all 8 of my own personalities that work with them.
And we all know we live in an oversensitized society now. I mean, and the good news for this show, Talking with Tony, should I use a comma or should I use a semicolon? And Frank, you went to Emory. I didn't go to Emory. I went to Texas A&M, so they didn't teach us a lot about grammar and punctuation.
Well, I'm one of those people who the elitists that went to Harvard and Yale like to call deplorables. Yeah, I went to Emory and I went to the University of London and the London School of Economics and all kinds of other things.
That sounds pretty dang fancy to me, my friend.
Yeah, it's pretty
fancy.
I got so fancy and I went to school with so many communists that I could tell them off. And then I was willing to come back and be where I came from because I never forgot who brung me to the dance. And those were the working people that were part of my family. And I never forgot them and never will.
Have we forgotten? Here's my question.
We have forgotten them as a country, and it just makes me disgusted.
I'll tell you what, I haven't forgotten them. I haven't forgotten
them.
No,
you never have. No, you fight for them. You do it in your business.
Get me on a rant.
I have fought for them.
I went on a rant last week. And Francis said, my goodness, Tony, you went on a rant last week. Well, don't get me on a rant, because I haven't forgotten them.
You have fought for black people. You have fought for yellow people. You have fought for red people. You have fought for white people. And I've done the same thing. So when these people start talking about us, not the people like us, that, we're no good. Somebody called me a racist at dinner. I told you that last week.
You're still smarting from that. You're smarting from that, and that was 3 weeks ago.
I'll never forget it.
Listen, we live in an oversensitized society. The good news, as I was saying, that everything on Talking with Tony, and I'm going to just use a comma and a space, and Frank, is vetted by our politically correct department. They're as busy as a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest to get our stuff correct, but they got it correct. And I got to say something else, Frank, and you know this because I got multiple calls the last 3 weeks from station management, from station ownership. They said, Tony, listen, man, you got to keep control over Frank because some things that Frank, it's not a laughing matter anymore, man. This is like, they are madder than a hornet's nest. The FCC is up our rear end. They're threatening to kick us off the radio. They're very upset. So we got to watch our P's and Q's, my friend. Can we agree on that?
I'll watch my P's and Q's with regard to using certain words that the FCC doesn't approve of. But I'm not going to watch my P's and Q's like those spineless, gutless Republican senators. Yes. Between Romney, Langford, and the other guy, Johnson, those 3 guys I want to talk about later on because they're all in the news this week. I'm not watching my P's and Q's. We need a new party. We need a freedom party.
What is the party? Tell me what it is, because I'll be the first one to join it and the first one to carry the flag, my friend.
Well, then you can be the head of the party, Tony, because you're a political guy, and I can just I can just have some ideas, okay? Because I'm not such a good guy like with the politics, apparently.
Yeah. Well, we did a poll last week. I guess we're going to have to take a break, Frank. You got to cue me since I'm off
We're taking a break. We're taking a break, and we'll be back with Talking with Tony live from the Antioch Ranch.
All right, we'll be back. Now listen here. Now you see how hard it is for me to control Frank Spagnoletti? Oh my goodness, it's like trying to chain a tiger.
Hello, we're here. I don't know anything about Facebook, but I'm here. Tony's up there. I don't know if you're watching me or you're not watching me, but I'm telling you, I'm really mad. I mean, I'm really mad this week, and you know what I did today? It was I listened to marches all day long. I listened to John Sousa marches. I listened to military marches, and then I watched The Patriot with Mel Gibson. And you need to watch it before the end of the 4th of July weekend, because it's fantastic. Yes, it is fantastic, and it really tells the history of the country, and it tells the history of the country at the beginning with all color men, all colors, or no colors. That what I mean by that is black and white working together under the stars and stripes for the establishment of the red, white, and blue. Okay? That's what we are. That's the United States of America. That is what I'm talking about. And now I'm sorry. I know I get upset, but I fool around a lot too, in the sense of joking. But I'm really
Facebook Live. Stay tuned, because what we're going to do is Duke's Butcher Shop has donated, to their credit, a great butcher shop. They've donated Angus steaks, sirloins. We're going to give away 2 boxes to people that call in. The number is 281-558-5738. We're going to talk about them as soon as we go back on the air. Awesome place that you can call and have steaks delivered directly to your home. Some of the best meat you're ever going to eat. And if you're not a meat eater, which is fine, Francis doesn't eat meat, they also have chicken. And of course, they have all kinds of seafood. I guarantee you, the best decision you'll ever make is try out DukesButcherShop.com, one of the sponsors of Talking with Tony. Coming back on the show. All right. This is Talking with Tony and Frank. Friday afternoon, the day before Independence Day. We're going to get to Independence Day and a little bit of history. We're going to let Frank go on his rants, because people seem to like Frank's rants. And you know what? I kind of we're doing this Facebook Live, my phone fell. But I kind of enjoy listening to Frank's rant. It gives me a kind of a new perspective. But before we get into that, Frank, we have so many great sponsors. And I want to talk about Duke's Butcher Shop. That is Duke, D-U-K-E, DukesButcherShop.com. This is one of the best places that I've ever gotten meat. And here's what I want you to know, because if you're listening out there and you're thinking, yeah, I may want to say something, I don't know if I want to. Listen, 281-558-5738, that's the number to call. That's the way you reach us. And let me tell you, for 2 of the listeners over the next 2 hours, we're going to give away 1 box of prime Angus New York strips and 1 box of prime Angus ribeyes to a caller. And it's just going to be, maybe Frank will decide, maybe I'll decide. I don't know. Me and Frank, we're buddies from way back.
Wait a minute, that sounds so good from Dukes. Can I call myself?
Well, that's what my mom said. My mom said, is it family? But let me add on to that, Frank, because we're going to talk about our firefighters in a minute. For everybody else, if you're not one of the lucky ones that gets one of these, I'm not sure, and maybe Duke will call in later. I think he told me there's 4 steaks per box, and if I'm wrong on that, I apologize. But look, if it's just 4, that's a lot. But if it's more than that, that's even a bonus. But for everybody else, if you go to their website, DukesButcherShop.com, and you use the promotional code TonyB, you get a 15% discount. And here's the cool thing. Our firefighters, there are more than 300 of our firefighters right now in quarantine. Right now, in quarantine, that have been exposed to COVID-19. And there's going to be a lot of shifts that are missed. All the things that I talked about in the campaign about how, we were going to have, it's going to be an issue with regard to public safety because of more than 400 firefighters had retired. If you are a firefighter or a family member of a firefighter and you go to DukesButcherShop.com, you will get 15. Frank, we can hear you.
Hey, Tony, I know. I'm just checking your test technical. You got to turn your phone around because everybody's seeing you upside down.
Oh.
Maybe
that's weird. That's weird.
Maybe they're actually seeing you right side up.
The funny thing is, Frank, is I look a lot better upside down.
I know.
You should see this contraption that I set up. I use Scotch tape, a Michelob Ultra box, and some other kind of box to set up my own little studio here at Antioch Ranch. But don't lose what I'm trying to tell you. And I think I fixed the issue you're talking about. 1 box of prime Angus steaks.
You're good now. You're good now.
558-5738, or 1 box of ribeyes, and 15% off for any listener who uses the promotional code TonyB, and always for all firefighters and their families, 15% off. That's DukesButcherShop.com, and that's one of our great sponsors. Frank, I want to mention something, if I could, before we take the first call.
Yeah.
I know we have a call, but let me mention
number
something.
of calls, but go ahead.
Okay. I went on a rant last week. We both kind of ranted a little bit here and there. And I want to come back to one of the things I said last week, and I want to add a little more meat to the bone, if I could. We have politicians that are running this country, and again, I know there's some exceptions, and one of which is your guy Donald Trump. But
He's not a politician, Tom.
I hear you, and I knew you were going to say that. I actually set you up. Most politicians.
You usually do.
I know I do, don't I?
Not in a good way.
I know, right? I'm sorry. Most politicians are reeds in the wind, if you will. They lick their finger and they put it up and they see which way the wind is going to blow. And they only do something if they think it's going to advance their cause. 40 years. And I'm not criticizing Joe Biden. I just want to make it clear for those of you out there who are saying, oh my goodness gracious, we need a change and we need something different. Well, if Joe Biden's your person, boy, we got problems. And let's talk about the local level, because a lot of people have said, Tony, you don't really talk much about the local level anymore. Think about the people running this city. Not only do we have a mayor who has been a politician for more than 30 years, who's been trying to be mayor since I was in the Marines in 1991. It's not just the fact that he is a recycled politician. The people in his administration who are actually doing the nuts and bolts of running the government, they're the same people that were doing it when I got out of the Marine Corps in 1994 and came to Houston, Texas. Ain't nothing changed. Crime, flooding, street repair, trash all over the city, homelessness. The insanity of it all is doing the same thing over and over and over. And here is the biggest hypocrisy, if you will, Frank, is that now we have a police chief who's been a police chief his entire, well, not his entire career, but he's been a police chief in multiple cities. Now, this police chief he wants to be the face of police reform. And this is the guy that presided over the Hardin Street raid, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But Frank, let's take a call.
Okay, then let's take Sharon. Sharon, let's take her call. She's been waiting for a while. Sharon, go ahead.
Oh, my goodness. I just walked in that front door. I can't stand it. The neighbor across the street has a Black Lives Matter sign in his front yard.
Well, it's America. It's America. You can put that up. You put up whatever flag you want.
I've already got my stars and stripes flying. But here's the deal. I wanted to I want to talk about American individualism.
Okay.
And I want to answer the question that Tony asked me weeks back, weeks back, because I listen to y'all every Friday night.
Yeah, thank you, and we thank you for that, and everybody that does. Thank you very much.
We really do appreciate the listeners. Thank you.
And I thank y'all, too, because this is one of my favorite shows on this station. So y'all follow the Three Amigos. It's a really good setup. Now, when
maybe we're the two amigos.
I don't know about amigo part. All I know is that it's probably a little more boisterous than our friends who are. I like their show, but it's
no. They give you a good contest on the boisterous.
Okay.
Frank, you need to turn up the heat, Frank.
It's high on the scale as they do.
Okay.
And on boisterous. Now, anyway, we were talking, and I told you, just to review, I told you that y'all remind me of my dad and his good friend. They're both attorneys, and they'd sit around the dinner table, and they would go back and forth. And sometimes I'd get into a rant, and I'd just sit there and listen, and y'all reminded me of that. And then Tony just jumped in, and he said, now you tell me, who's smarter, me or Frank? I remember that. That stuck with me.
And that question has been answered.
Well,
that question has been answered.
It's because I didn't have an answer at the time, but now I do. So do you want to hear it?
I don't know if I want to hear it or not. Frank, do you want to hear it?
It doesn't matter. I've been fat, dumb, and happy, but I'm still fat, but I'm not.
All right, Sharon.
I'm not dumb or happy anymore.
Okay,
give us that stiff medicine.
I thought through this. This is, and I believe this is God gave me this answer. I do.
Now remember, I'm getting ready to give out steaks now, Sharon. But go ahead.
I don't eat steaks, Tony. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Well, dadgummit.
Don't bribe the
I
don't
did
bribe
look
the callers.
I did look up your Lamone shoes, which is such a weird name, and I found a pair I like, but they don't have my size. So if you want to give out Lamone shoes, you let me know. But anyway, back to the question. The question is, neither one of you is smarter than the other because it pertains to what I want to talk about, American individualism. Frank gives a lot of flavor to this show, and you bring your own strengths to the show. So the two of you together make a really good team. And what I want to say is, and God gave me this too, I remember in my study of the scriptures, I think it was the Apostle Paul, one of his letters, he said, don't compare yourselves to one another, but work together with one another. And that's what y'all are doing on this show. So that's my answer.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I
Sharon,
really
thank you for that call.
appreciate
And
that.
always,
Great
know what, Sharon?
compliment.
When I heard it was you calling, I was like, that's the caller I want to give the stakes to, because you are a loyal listener and you call every week, and every week you call, you have something new and fresh and unique to say. And I'm just glad you didn't say Frank was smarter than me. So I absolutely appreciate that. Frank, let's take another call.
Yeah. Let's take Kevin. Kevin's calling. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Good to hear from you.
Yes, sir. Same to y'all. Mighty fine hat, Tony. But
Hey man, I do what I can. I was bucked off a horse. It's one thing to you don't judge a cowboy till you see him ride. My dad, back when I was a kid, would force me to get on these horses to try to break them, and I got bucked off and broke my toe. And I've been scared of horses ever since. But it doesn't affect my ability to wear a cowboy hat. What can we do with you tonight?
well, I'm just wondering, what are y'all's opinions? Because there's so much back and forth between the coronavirus outbreak, between it being Memorial Day's fault and between the protesters' fault. Well, what is y'all's opinions upon that?
Okay. Go ahead, Tony. You want to go? Or you want me to?
No, Frank, I'm gonna let you field that question.
Well, I mean, I have my own feelings about all of this because I think it will all relatively quickly become much calmer and disappear if Joe Biden's elected to the presidency in November. But let me say this: what I'm very, very upset about is that they want to talk about the young people going to bars, and that was the reason for the coronavirus spreading.
Right.
Right. But did you hear a lot about all? I didn't see too many of my contemporaries out there in the protests. I'm 66. I didn't see 50-year-olds out there in the protests. I didn't see many 40-year-olds out there in the protests. I saw some 30-year-olds, but I saw a heck of a lot of 20-something-year-olds. And the point is, they didn't never say, and they were out there without masks, and they were running around all over the place. And then I'm sure they went to parties that night after the windows were broken.
Absolutely.
I
appreciate the call. But
And
Frank,
so the point
Frank,
is,
what is your point? What is your point?
My point, he asked me to compare where this coronavirus among young people is coming from, and I'm saying to you, it's probably coming from a combination of all those things. But the slanting of it to make it seem like it's only because the red states are opening up and the economy's getting better, and God, we got to stop that. God forbid people need to make a living. Shoot, you don't need to make a living. You can just go ahead and go on the dole and get another free check from the government, which won't even pay, for your bar bill potentially. And
depends on whose bar bill it is, Frank.
Well, I got to say, it won't pay for mine. I don't want any money from the government. I don't want it.
I don't want any either, but we do have to take a break.
All right, we're taking a break. It's time. Yeah. Thanks, Tony. You can go on your rant next.
Yeah, I'm on a rant. We'll be back. So, we haven't given away any of the stakes yet, but we're going to. And then we're going to mention one other great sponsor Aguila Ammo. AguilaAmmo.com. One of the largest ammo makers in the entire world. They're based in Mexico. They're coming into the they're already in the U.S. market, but if you're a gun owner or somebody that likes to shoot, whether you like to hunt, whether you like to do target practice, they are a outfit that you need to check out. It's AguilaAmmo.com. AGUILA. Aguila means eagle. AguilaAmmo.com. Awesome sponsor of Talking with Tony, and Frank. We're going to be back probably in about a minute. Appreciate you watching us on Facebook Live. If you have a question, I'm not really looking at the comments because I'm not really good at it. I already dropped the phone once, so I'm not sure what you expect from me. We're going to talk a little bit about, here we are 6 months into the year. What has happened so far? What do we expect going forward? Tomorrow's Independence Day. Happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July.
I think we named one of these shows Common Sense. Or Chaos was the name of one of the shows. But I tell you, that it's just common sense. Maybe you have a rule. You don't go visit your grandparents without a mask. You don't go visit your older parents without a mask. Then when you go out in public, in walking your dog or out taking a jog or out on the beach or whatever, and you don't need to wear a mask. And this is all ridiculousness. This pressure came, and the only reason these Republican governors like Abbott and the others have relented to any of this is because they don't want to have to close down the state because they have spiking numbers in terms of the number of cases, not the number of deaths, which have remained constant. So this is a total ruse, and I think it's outrageous. And the only reason I'm speaking out, and I was mentioning this in the last segment, I'm speaking out because if I don't, who will? And if I just say I'm not going to do it, then all of you can say you're not going to do it. And I'm telling you, I want you to do it. I want you to speak out in your churches. I want you to speak out in your neighborhoods. I want you to speak out to your friends. I want you to speak out everywhere you can speak out.
All right. Hey, Frank, you know what? Here we are talking with Tony. 281-558-5738. 281-558-5738. We're giving away two boxes of steaks from DukesButcherShop.com. The next caller, Frank, it's your choice. The next caller that you put on the air.
Next caller is Betty.
Betty's getting a box of steaks. Betty, what you got?
Oh, my gosh. Thanks, guys. That's awesome. I'm talking about the firefighters.
Okay.
We have 307 in quarantine.
Yep.
We are 98 firefighters short to staff all the stations for tomorrow, which is the 4th of July.
Yep.
The firefighters who are working and have been doing this through this pandemic are working 72 to 96 hours straight.
Wow.
That's a long time. We lost 300 firefighters since January. Last year, we lost between 150 and 170, and they're not all retirements. A lot of these guys are just resigning and going elsewhere. And, tomorrow, I guarantee you we're going to have stations that are going to be browned out or closed. And as long as this mayor keeps up his fight with these firefighters and these lawsuits that he has against them, this department's going to be gutted, and we need them.
Betty, I appreciate your call.
Thank you very much, Tony. What you got to say about that?
I was going to ask Betty. Betty, would you please message, email the website, because I'm going to give you the Angus New York strips from DukesButcherShop.com. This is prime beef. And I look forward to I bet Duke himself will probably even deliver it if I ask him to. But so Betty got the New York strips. Let me talk about firefighters, because everybody knows that that's something that's near and dear to me. And I just want to recap a few things that Betty said, because many of you listeners may not realize this, especially those that aren't from the Houston area, that are listening from other areas across Texas, because looks like we got a pretty good following. The Houston firefighters, professional firefighters, one of the second largest in the whole country, incredible professionals. I mean, incredible. I know a lot of them. They are incredible professionals. The mayor of Houston has been on an all-out war against the Houston firefighters, an all-out war. There's been more than 450 firefighters that have left or retired, and I think Betty made the point that it's not all retirements, but people that were firefighters that decided, it's not worth it. Houston, Texas, we went out and we petitioned the electorate, and we were able to convince the electorate in a large majority to give firefighters a raise because they hadn't had one in like 11 years. And the voters voted in favor of a raise, overwhelmingly in favor of a raise. And then the mayor filed lawsuits to prevent that raise from being put into effect. And so a lot of the firefighters just kind of lost confidence in the administration. A lot of the firefighters, and of course the firefighter union, when I ran for mayor of Houston, supported me, and the mayor punished them for that, to be honest. He punished them. And now here we are going through this COVID mess, a full-on mess. And remember, our firefighters are not only the men and women that respond to fires and respond to car wrecks and respond to every other kind of emergency you can think of, they also respond to medical emergencies. They're EMTs as well. And we have more than 300 firefighters now who have been exposed to COVID who are in quarantine. And the truth is, we don't have a large fire department anymore. We just don't. And what Betty was saying is that out of 745 shifts across the city of Houston, 98 of those will be empty tomorrow because of the lack of firefighters to fill those shifts. And that means fire trucks out of service, potentially shutting down fire stations. These folks, these real heroes. Remember how we used to hold firefighters up after 9/11 as heroes? This mayor has not treated them like heroes. He's treated them like stepchildren. He's treated them very poorly. And so, and one other thing a lot of people don't know about our firefighters is that even though there's a presumption in state law that a firefighter who contracts cancer, that cancer is presumably caused by that firefighter's exposure, because these men and women are exposed all the time. Even after they put the fire out, it always smolders, and they get exposed to this smoke, and a lot of these men and women contract cancer after several years. This mayor, because the city's self-insured under comp, has fought their ability to get their medical treatment paid for under workers' comp. So they've gotten what we would call in Northeast Texas the short end of the stick, and it's only getting worse. And that's why I'm glad that Duke's Butcher Shop has. First off, I'm happy to be able to send a box of steaks to Betty, because I believe that she's a part of a firefighter family. But also, Duke's Butcher Shop is providing a 15% discount for any firefighter, some member of a firefighter family. But it's a bad situation, and Frank, I don't know your position on it, but it's I've never seen how you could go from heroes of 9/11, people that when there's a fire, like you and I would run away from the fire, they run towards the fire,
like the American bison.
Exactly, or people that went up, the 100 and whatever floors of the World Trade towers, and now you have a mayor and an administration, to be frank, who treat these men and women like this. It's a sad tale.
Let me chime in. You ready? You okay, Tony?
Yeah.
I totally agree with absolutely what you're saying, but here's the problem, because this is symptomatic of what's going on in the country in general. It's putting everybody into their little tribes and camps, okay? And so what you got is you're pitting the firefighters against the police department. Not you, but I'm saying they're pitting the firefighters against the police department. The truth is that both and I'm not talking about the leaders, because I don't know anything about the leaders, and you're an expert on Acevedo. But I accept I don't like some of his comments, but nevertheless, I'm not talking about him. Just get rid of them, because most of the leaders are not worth a damn anyway in any of these things. But the people who do the day-to-day work, the firefighters who came to my house and took care of my dad as EMTs, okay, that
When he fell, your dad
when
fell?
he died and before he died,
Goodness
in my house, okay? Yeah. And the point is, I saw it. I saw the work they did. I saw their, and it's 3 floors up, okay? And they and this man was, because I fed him pretty damn good, and so he was not a light fella. And they took him out, and they took care of him, and they did the right thing. And these were men and women totally dedicated to their profession, which made what I do as a lawyer look like nothing, because all I do is talk with my mouth. But they worked with their body and their skills. And the police and the firefighters. And this is what they've done to our country. They have done it across the country. They've pitted black against white. There was we weren't fighting black against white until all of a sudden we just had an election, and all of a sudden we had a China virus, and all of a sudden then we had black and white riots. I don't think so. Most of the black folks that I know and that are in this country want the same darn thing that I want. And they're not saying that they're being discriminated against. They just want the economic opportunities that everybody wants. They want to be able to raise their kids. They want to be able to go to church and worship Jesus Christ, and they don't want some communist telling them not to. And the bottom line is, that's what's wrong, Tony. And I feel very sad for the city that they pit them to get against each other. They should get paid. They should get time off, and they should get paid. They should get paid a lot, and they should get.
Well, they won't get time off now. And I'll just tell you that. I mean, I'm going to close this chapter with the firefighters. Although we could probably spend 2 hours talking about them, but because of all the heroic things they do, and it's not just the heroic things they do, it's also their willingness to do heroic things. Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know when you're going to be called upon as a firefighter or a police officer or a Marine or whatever to do something that most people won't do, and to put yourself out there like that, to put yourself in that position to where you got to do that. That says a lot about you, whether you ever fight a fire. To be honest.
Yeah,
Tony.
I'm listening.
Okay, what I'm about to tell you, my friend, is you and I on this radio station are asking the citizens of this country and those folks who listen to us to do just that. They need to put themselves out there and to go ahead and for things where they normally wouldn't do it. They need to put themselves out there and not remain silent. Whether that means making sure they and 20 or 30 or 1,000 of their friends go to the voting booth and vote whatever way you want. But we need to, these people that are doing this day to day, we see them, and they are doing the Lord's work, and their reward will be in heaven for taking care of our injured and our sick and our threatened. As long as we don't threaten them, and that's the disgusting part of what's going on in this country, and that's what's got to stop, and we need to stop it.
I agree with you, and I support what you say, but and again, I'm not. This is no criticism against you, obviously,
you
because
can criticize me all you want.
Well, I will when time comes, but I'm not doing it right now. I think a lot of them would say, enough lip service. We're suffering trying to support our families.
I understand that, and they can
do
do whatever.
And we're on the front line, and we talk about.
You're talking about
God
the
bless the
firemen?
people. I'm talking. I'm going to close this chapter in a second, but we talk about the folks that work at the Texas Medical Center and every medical provider across the city of Houston, and how they put themselves out there to provide medical treatment to help people that have been exposed to this virus. But let's not forget the very front of that is our EMTs and our firefighters.
Yeah, but
and we never hear anything about it, and it gets a little. But I gotta change, because I could talk about that for a long time. But Frank, I gotta change.
We're taking a break.
We're gonna take a little break. We'll be back. We're gonna give away some steaks on the next segment.
You already gave away steaks.
I got more steaks to give away, Frank.
You didn't give me any steaks. I've been working hard here.
I ain't giving you anything. 5738. The next segment, we're going to give away, this time, ribeyes. If you like a ribeye, which is, as you know, similar to a T-bone but bigger, oh, man. My dad's a butcher, Ribeye is my favorite cut of meat. Some people would say otherwise, but I love a good ribeye, and we're going to give away a box of ribeyes, and we're going to talk about some of our other sponsors, Limone Shoes that you've heard me talk about before. We're going to talk about horse rescue, dog rescue, and then we're going to we're going to do a review of the year. Think about from January 1 to June 30, what has happened in our country? A whole lot. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
We're doing this. I'm doing this, but you can do more than I ever could, because you're involved in your communities from day to day, and you're talking to people, and you don't have to hide anymore. You need to tell them what you really think. Because the way they are shaming us, the way they are shaming people, the way they are shaming because of color, or the way they are shaming whether it's black or white, whether it's red or yellow, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, or whether you're an atheist, whatever you are, there's no room for shame in this country. There's only room for pride in this country. And that's what needs to be done. Pride in this country, because it's only that red, white, and blue flag, which I'm looking at right now in this studio, that allows us to be not shamed. That allowed us to stand up to the King of England. That allowed us to stand up to the Nazi Hitler, okay? And the other dictators. And when we began to get shamed was in my lifetime. We were shamed in Vietnam. We were shamed in North Korea, and the politicians took over. In the Middle East, what did we ever really finish until Trump came along and basically got most of our folks out of there? We got shamed. There's no room for shame under the red, white, and blue. We got to be proud, because we are what we have and what we're about to lose. We're going back on the air, my friend.
All right. Frank, before we take the next call, because I promised that I was going to give away some more steaks. This time we're giving away ribeyes. We gave away New York strip. I was telling the folks on Facebook Live that I personally, as a meat eater, and I don't make any apologies for that. Francis, like always, is up my rear end, like, well, I can't believe you eat meat. And you know what? I've been eating meat since I was, had enough teeth to chew it, and I'm going to to do it until my teeth fall out.
Butcher. I don't think
my dad was a butcher. What do you expect? I mean, come on.
Even if you don't eat meat, you better say you do, or he's going to get
exactly. He slapped me upside my grape. But
we got a call.
We're gonna get a call. But I gotta put things in perspective. And whoever the next caller is, you're gonna get to choose it because you're there at the board, is gonna get ribeyes, which is my favorite cut of meat. But before we go into that, Frank, can I give you a little perspective?
Me?
Yeah, I want to give you some perspective because I've spent the last 35 hours here at Antioch Ranch. Had ability to just kind of sit on the front porch, smoke a cigar, think about things. And I was thinking, here we are halfway through the year. I want to hearken you back to January. In January, there were 7 coronavirus cases in the U.S. and less than 10,000 worldwide. Recall, Frank, that in January of 2020, that was when the impeachment trial of Donald Trump started. That was also the month, late in the month, that Kobe Bryant died, and remember then when England left the European Union. It feels like this has been an eternity ago, but it actually was just 5 months ago. In February, Trump was acquitted. By March, remember, we started out with 7 cases of coronavirus in the U.S. By March, there were 188,000 cases of coronavirus in the U.S. and 858,000 worldwide. And you may recall it was somewhere around mid-March that the entire city of Houston and other major cities in the country went on, quote, lockdown. In fact, I have not been to my law office downtown Houston on the 73rd floor since March. Huh? Since March 1. Are you there?
Oh, we hear you now.
So in March, there were 188,000 cases of coronavirus in the United States and 858,000 worldwide. That's when we went on lockdown. By April, there were 1 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, 3.2 million worldwide. By May, there were 1.7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States and double that 3.2 to 6.1 million worldwide. And then what happened in May? Of course, there was a George Floyd situation and other situations similar to that, and protests across the U.S. and protests worldwide. Can you imagine, Frank, that all of that happened in a mere 6 months?
Yeah. Because this is a war, Tony. This is
What kind of war? Okay,
This
wait,
hasn't
wait, I
happened
gotta
by
stop you.
accident, Tony.
What are you talking about?
This has not happened by accident, Tony. Do you think that we were just lied to about a epidemic in China so that their germs could escape here, their virus could escape to the United States when they send 5 million people out of Wuhan to Northern Europe and they pollute the Western world? Are you kidding me? This is a war, Tony. And don't even.
Okay, can you, as a Marine, I'd like to know what that war is.
I'm sorry, Tony. We're not fighting with guns anymore. They're fighting with biological agents, and this is the biological agent. It's called Chinese Wuhan virus, and just accept it. They have attacked us. They have seeded us. They seeded us with this germ. And it's because, why, Tony? Because there's an election this year, and they know that what was going to happen. I don't believe those statistics that you quoted, although those are the published statistics, because I know that you're very good at getting the accurate information, but you weren't given the accurate information. Because
I'll be honest, I got those from CNN, so
fake news. But look, buddy, I'm talking about even if let's assume that those numbers are correct, okay? The Chinese didn't report all of their situation. I bet they have millions of cases. Maybe. Why did none of their hierarchy ever get sick with this stuff? Maybe they have a vaccine for this stuff. These are all questions. But what I do know is it's in the interest of China for our economy to be locked down so they can get rid of Trump and they cannot have tariffs on their goods and they can continue to dominate the world and take us over. That's right. And you know what happened in between here, Tony? One thing you didn't mention? They just took over Hong Kong. And they just took away all the rights.
I saw that, and they criminalized any protest.
They took. What better way and what better timing to do that, Tony? Do you think it's by accident? What better timing to do it than while they create protests in this country so we don't have the high moral ground that we normally have? We're breaking down from this contrivance of these communist twits that are running around the country taking care. I mean, they're just little like wimps. They're cowards, and they can create all this chaos under the disgusting situation of George Floyd gets murdered by a rogue cop. Okay, and then they turn around and use that in order to create this mess across the whole country. Why did they do that, Tony? Because in the meantime, Hong Kong could be taken over and we couldn't do a damn thing about it, not like we were going to. And of course, the UK, because it's totally been emasculated, and I'm going to use the word emasculated, it's okay. And I don't think I'll get thrown off the air for that yet.
No, you won't, but we're going to get thrown off the air at some point. It may as well be by the word emasculated. But let me ask you something. And we got to take a call because I promise you.
Okay. All right.
Before you do that, let me ask you. Between Russia and China, or as Trump says, China, who is our biggest threat?
There's no question about it. It's not even a contest. The Russian economy Russia's like operating at a very low economic level, okay? It's operated by the dictator Putin, all the rest. But he's not that kind of threat, Tony. He's not looking to dominate the world because he knows he can't. He just wants to make sure oil prices are high enough that he and his buddies can continue to get rich. Okay, I got that deal. But we can do...
So obviously China. You think China is the biggest threat that we face?
China is the biggest threat the world faces because they don't like black people and they don't like African people and they don't like white people. They think that, and when I say China, I'm not talking about the Chinese people. I'm talking about communist Chinese, okay? Whenever I say China on this station, I want people to understand I'm talking communist Chinese, red Chinese, and it has nothing to do with our good Indian friends. I'm talking about communist Chinese. They are absolutely bent on world domination, and we got to stop it. And they've just undercut us, our moral high ground by this whole mess. And they take out Trump, and what do they do? What we're going to have in place is the weakest white man president that we could ever have. And God, he's a nice man, I guess, at some point in his life, maybe. I don't know him that well. But I do know now.
I don't know him, but I met him in Houston many years ago. I had nothing but nice things to say about him. Sure. We're going to come back to him, but we got to give away some steaks.
Yeah, but let me finish this thought.
Let's take this call.
Okay, let's take. But look, Tony, I gotta finish that thought. The point is, you're gonna wind up with this guy who's a hollow candidate, and all these bad things are coming in behind him. And if we don't stop it, this is the most in my lifetime. It's the most critical election that I've ever seen. Hillary Clinton was nothing. She wouldn't have changed all that much. She just would have changed the cosmetics because she was about the same kind of power structure, but not all this craziness that's going on now. Now. They've been taken over by the Ocasio-Cortez, the Talibs, and the Ilhan Omars. If she's even like a citizen here, I doubt that too, because she came in under false pretenses. But the point is, let's take a call and calm down.
Let's take a call. Got to give away some steaks. We're gonna
I'm sorry, Elvis from Austin.
Elvis from Austin.
Yeah, hey Elvis, how you doing, man?
Great, you guys are awesome. I love listening to you.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you listening to us all the way from Austin.
Well, things are a little different here in Austin, and I think one of the patterns that we've seen is we're starting to fight amongst ourselves. And you mentioned the firefighters and the police a little earlier. If you have a fire at your house and the fire department shows up, don't you want them to kind of want to show up? Why would you abuse them so badly to where when they show up to save you, they may or may not even be able to want or do that job? Look what we're doing to ourselves. Look at law enforcement. Look at what we've expected of ourselves from law enforcement. Put them down. They're civil servants. They're so beneath us. They don't have any real value in our community but to tell us what to do, so let's tell them to go away. But we're telling each other to fight each other when Russia and China are fighting us.
They're using us.
Perfect trap to where we're now fighting each other about
on every level.
Elvis, I know you're an Austinite. Are you a meat eater?
And you talk about putting myself out there. I started a law enforcement training company. I wanted to change the world. I thought I was going to.
Thanks, Elvis. We
got to take a break.
Commercial.
We got to take a break. I'm sorry, man. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Elvis.
Let's take a break. I got to give away some of these steaks, butchers.
Oh, we got time, Tony. We got another hour.
All right, we're going to do that. Let's take a little break. We'll be back. I'm trying to give away these steaks. Frances is over there working her tail end off, putting away things and having sandwiches and eating soup, and I'm not sure what you're doing over there, Frances, but we are having a good time. It's a little more difficult because I can't see the call-in board, and I have some notes that I made, but they're on my laptop. But I want to give away these steaks, and I want to talk a little bit more about GorillaAmmo.com because they're a great sponsor, and I want to talk about Limone shoes, and of course we want to talk about some of the other sponsors. Chad Pinkerton, one of the great lawyers in Houston. But I do appreciate y'all watching the Independence Day version of Talking with Tony, and Frank. We'll be back.
Our stealth fighters, not our stealth bombers, not our nuclear weapons. It's a strong leader, and be that Donald Trump or be it somebody else. But we don't have anybody else. I have often said to my friend Tony on this station, give me another person. I'm not married to Donald, Melania is. But the point is, I don't see anybody else, Democrat or Republican, standing up. In the second part of this show, I'm going to talk about some of these spineless politicians. Absolutely, they disgust me. And it's either party. So what I'm trying to say is, now I got to say we got some decent leadership here in Texas with regard to the lieutenant governor. The man speaks his mind. He talks with a true tongue. And he says the right things. And it's not just because I'm sitting here in this radio station, because honestly, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this show because God's blessed me. But what I don't like is when people like, particularly, this is why the Republicans get me so mad that are up in Washington. Not all of them. There are some really good ones. I mean, I'll go through some of them at some point. But what I don't like is, I'm going to say this when we get back on the air, when we talk about this subject. But it reminds me of Jesus, okay? I happen to be a Christian. It reminds me of Jesus on Palm Sunday. Everybody had the palm out for him. And then some weeks later, they were crucifying him, the very same people. And that's exactly what these spineless politicians act like. They were worshiping Trump when they were riding high with him, or any leader like him. Pick another one, but it happened to be Trump at this stage in history. And you know what? I don't believe that this guy, who's not very smooth, I guess you would say, but he's strong. I don't think that he was put in. He won that election by accident in 2016. I think this country's ordained by God, and I think that sometimes his hand tries to make sure that this one beacon of hope in the world doesn't die. And I hope we haven't offended God so much that he doesn't have his hand in the next election. And if that's the kind of foreign interference we're going to get in the election, that's the kind that I want. Anyway, I guess I could joke around some more, but I'm just cranked up today because of 4th of July, and I've been listening to all this marching music and looking at all these patriotic things, and I don't want to lose it.
Ammunition. I know a lot of you folks out there watching are gun enthusiasts, and God bless you for that. Some people agree with that, some people don't, but the good news is we're in the United States, so you can do kind of what you want. But if you're a gun enthusiast, whether you like to hunt, or whether you enjoy target practice or whatever you like to do, as a young kid, I grew up hunting. That was part of the meat that we brought in to supplement what we ate. But aguilaammo.com, you really ought to check them out. I mean, aguilaammo.com, they are super, super cool. One of the largest ammunition makers in the world, high quality ammunition. And the cool thing is, if you're looking for something that's hard to get or hard to find, they probably have it. So check them out, aguilaammunition.com. It's AGUILA, stands for Eagle, as I've said, ammo.com. Check it out. All right. Talking with Tony, I know that Frank, that break was so big that we dropped off almost half of our viewers off of Facebook Live. Frank, how are you feeling tonight, man? I mean,
I feel fantastic.
But why? It seems like you're mad at everything. How could you feel so good?
I feel good because I feel like the time is coming that we need to fix this. That's right. Everything. You think that this is normality? I think that this is absurdity. I think I understand why the governor put in this, everybody needs to wear a face mask all the time except that they're in their house.
Oh, no, I wasn't even going to go there, but you had to bring it up because three or 4 weeks ago, you were complaining about a face mask. Oh, they're taking away my liberty. I don't want to wear a face mask. Oh, we're taking away our identity. This is Chinese communism, blah, blah, blah. Now all of a sudden you're okay with a face mask? I mean, you need to get yourself right, my friend. Get yourself right.
I still believe what I said. I'm telling you that there's an order out there from a Republican governor saying this. Because why? Because he doesn't want to be pressured into having to close the economy. But we don't have the deaths have remained stable in this state. And yes, we have more cases, but we've been testing a lot more, for one. I mean, we tested more than any other country, and I'm talking about percentage of the population, not just raw numbers. Because
no, Frank, I need you as my friend, as my colleague, and as my co-host to be consistent. I want.
No, I don't want to wear the mask. I'm not wearing it.
Frank, let me finish. I know it's painful, but let me finish. 3 or 4 weeks ago, we showed up at that studio, and you railed on masks. And I said, Frank, it's a mask, man. It goes around your ears. Big whoop, big deal. And you go, and you railed. I wish I was smart enough.
I'm railing right now. I think it's BS.
Well, you're railing.
I tell you what, man. The World Health Organization came out and said you don't have to wear masks. One time they tell you wear masks. Another time they say don't wear masks. And I tell you what, use common sense. Use common sense, but that's the problem. Nobody will let us use our common sense. There are people dying all the time. What about all the flu people? The people that died of flu this year, are they thrown in with the coronavirus?
This is Tony. Remember me?
Yeah.
Talking with Tony. Listen, Frankie. Here's the disconnect, the incongruence that I have with your position.
I'm not
I'm going to say it again. 4 weeks ago, 3 to 4 weeks ago, you went off on a very articulate, very well-reasoned. You had a lot of reasons why you thought the masks were absolutely crazy, and it took away somebody's identity. Let me finish, please. It took away our identity. It was infringement on our rights, and you went off. Now, are you suggesting, I'm just trying to figure out that now that Governor Abbott has decided, because the coronavirus cases have spiked exponentially in the state of Texas, that he's right? Or what is your position now?
No, I don't think he's right. I think he made the correct political decision, which disgusts me. That's what I think. Because the political decision is to do this.
These are medical decisions, not
medical decisions. You think Dr. Fauci's a medical decision? He's a
You
political
tell
hack.
me. You obviously have a position on Dr. Fauci too. What is your position there?
I can't
hear your
stand the
position.
guy.
You heard me criticize the governor, and I was surprised that over the last week that I didn't get some kind of bad boy call from either his office or him directly, like, Tony, lay off of me. But you know what? You probably already know what I would have said in response. But I want to hear your position now that you were criticizing Lena Hidalgo, you were criticizing Turner, and let me tell you something. I'm no fan of either one of them. But now you got a governor that has bowed to political pressure, who has ordered across the entire state of Texas 29 point whatever million people, you can opt out of it, but you wear a mask if you're out in public. What say you?
I say that it's a bunch of BS. That's what I say. Is that plain enough? Am I speaking to the Antioch Ranch in plain enough English? I say it's BS, okay? That's what I say. Because, look, I'm not saying that people who choose and feel more comfortable doing that can do it, okay? They can do it, sure, and I'm not going to criticize them or shame them. I'm not going to say, you got a mask on, man. You must be one of them liberal Democrats. No. If you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, and you want to wear a mask and you want to take that precaution, it's just like in the wintertime. If I want to go outside when it's freezing outside and I don't wear a sweater, I'm likely to get pneumonia and die. I might be a dumbass. But that's my choice.
Can we say ass?
That's
Can we
my.
say that?
I can say dumbass. That's my choice as an American citizen. I don't need the government to make me into an infant. That's what I have with this problem I have with these stupid rules. But the governor's pressured by this because they'll make him close the economy because of these numbers that keep changing. Modeling done by the University of Washington for the most part, which has always been wrong. Well, Washington, let's see. The University of Washington. Oh, that's where Seattle was. That's where CHOP is. That's where we have all these crazy people.
Frank, do we have a call?
Yeah, well, let's take a call because you got my blood pressure up. And
I know. I gotta simmer down, Frank. Let's have a call.
Let's take Roberta from Austin.
Hey.
Hey, Roberta. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Happy 4th of July to y'all.
Happy 4th to you.
This veteran salutes both of y'all, and I thank y'all for your service.
No, we thank you for your service.
enjoyed every second of it, would do it again. Hey, Tony, I really enjoyed volunteering on your campaign as little as I did, but I flat out want to ask you and just want to know, do you plan on running for mayor again, or do you have a higher office such as governor in mind or senator? We really kind of need you, and, I'm here to draft you.
Oh, Roberta, well, let me ask you something. I'm going to answer a question with a question.
Volunteer.
Roberta, do you eat meat?
Most definitely.
Do you like ribeyes?
I love ribeyes.
You're in, my friend. You're in. I have found Roberta is getting a box of Duke's Butcher Shop Angus ribeyes. I appreciate your call. Make sure you direct message me so I can get your address. We're going to have them delivered to you. Betty got the New York strips. Roberta got the ribeyes. And now it comes to the question that Roberta, first off, let me thank her and many hundreds of other people.
Thank you, Roberta.
For helping me on that campaign. It was like as we would say, it was a long walk on a short pier.
Now you're talking my language. I'm a water.
Yeah, I know, man. But let's just say that, as we say in the legal business, the jury is out on all that, and I'm not going to commit to yay or nay. But what I am going to say, we talk and we get all riled up, and I love to get Frank riled up.
If you're going to run for president, I want to be Secretary of Defense. That'll be the end of that Chinese virus, I tell you.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
We're going to give them a taste of good old Texas virus.
Yeah, well, we get all riled up, especially Frank gets riled up, and I enjoy the devil out of it. But
okay, we
today,
got it coming up on the break, Tony.
Let's take a little break. I got something to talk about what happened.
Good.
What happened yesterday. Let's take 5.
Take care.
All right. So it took me. Let's see, what time is it? It took me. My eyes are so terrible. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to give away 2 boxes of steaks. I need to talk about Aguila ammo next break. We're going to talk about something that happened to poor Frances yesterday. Totally scarred her. We're going to talk about it in a few minutes.
And I was watching this week, and I saw where another one of our great heroes and president, Andrew Jackson, who they're trying to tear down his statue, he wrote a letter to Sam Houston and thanked Sam Houston for what all Sam Houston did in the state of Texas in order to bring them into the United States of America. And we ought to be thanking with Andrew Jackson, because without Andrew Jackson, there wouldn't even be any middle part of our country, which is all part of the purchase from the French. Louisiana Purchase. But it wasn't just Louisiana then. It took most of the middle of our country and all the way up to the Canadian border. And if Andrew Jackson, and I must say, a sinner, John Lafitte, didn't help him in New Orleans defeat the British, well, it wouldn't even have a United States of America today. And so we're going to tear down this guy's statue because we're imposing some kind of ridiculous morals thought up in some university with a bunch of, techies and safe space people that basically want to tear down what this country's made of. And then everybody cowers and rolls over and says, oh no, we can't do that. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I passed into another dimension. It even seems like another planet. Nobody will stand up and say, you people are crazy. Frank's not crazy. Well, maybe I am. But I'm crazy in a good way. Because I believe that what we had is what we need, and we can change. We can change it. Our whole country has evolved. We've done a lot of great things. You went from the Constitution, you went from the war, you went to women's suffrage, you went to racial suffrage.
I think they know. All right. I love that song. Frank, don't you like that song? That is such a great song. When I think about my time in the Marines, and that song always hits me like right deep in the heart. And you think about, here we are. I remember when I got back from the Middle East, I was in California, and it was before I redeployed to Somalia. I sat in my car in Del Mar, California, and they had the fireworks, and Desert Storm was just over, and they had the fireworks coordinated with the music, like that kind of music. Although I think that song is probably newer than back when I was there, but really hits home and makes you think about the hundreds of thousands of military troops that are serving all over the world. So shout out to them. Frank, what say you?
I say absolutely on that, but you talk about songs, Tony. Let me bring you to a modern consideration of a song, okay? I read this week, and I would like to know your thoughts on it. But the NFL is thinking and moving in the direction of doing away with the national anthem in the first game of each team, the first week of the NFL season, and playing the black national anthem, which I don't even know what the black national anthem is. Personally, I mean, I'm an informed person, and I don't know what it is. I plead ignorance, but may I say this? I thought that the national anthem of the United States of America, which I also say is the United Colors of America, I thought it was our national anthem because it's for all of us. And these people and these companies that pander to these issues of dividing us by saying we need to have a black national anthem, what are we going to have on the second week of this thing? The Chinese national anthem? What are we going to have on the third week of this thing? We're not going to have the Italian national anthem because they're going to tear down Christopher Columbus. So who else we got left? Maybe we can have, I don't know, the Cuban national anthem. How about that? And I mean the country of Cuba. Oh, and all the people that are offended by that in Florida, well, we don't care about that. And all the people, why don't we just have the United States, the national anthem of the United States? This kind of thing is ridiculous. Allowing the painting of the phrase Black Lives Matter on Fifth Avenue in New York, and I'm not against, of course, Black Lives Matter in the sense of black folks' lives matter. Abso-friggin-lutely. And the guy who killed Floyd's a murderer. And if he gets convicted of that, he ought to get the chair. Or maybe he ought to be hung. I don't know, whatever we got going in that state. But that's not what this is about. We don't go in. Why don't we paint the hammer and sickle in front of Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue? Because that's what they think we should be, socialists. Why don't we? This is ridiculous. This country's going down the tubes. The only people who can save it are the hardworking folks that are out there working every day and trying to take care of their families and going to church and trying to do the right thing and taking care of people in their food banks and in their charitable actions. I can't even compare myself to them, the folks who do that all the time in these communities and their little league teams and their football teams and everything else and their children and working 2 jobs and all the rest of it. You know, I even feel bad even trying to talk about this stuff because I don't lead that life. But I have led that life as a child. And I saw it with my grandparents who worked all kinds of shit. My grandmother used to sew for the Vanderbilts, you know, like in her house. And I used to watch her sewing pillowcases and making the Vanderbilt initials on pillowcases. The point is, anyway, that's about the song. The national anthem doesn't need to be changed. And we shouldn't watch any football games. I'm not watching any NFL games because they disgust me. They can go play ping pong with the rest of them in China.
I wish I had an answer.
You have an answer. You've done it. You've run for mayor, but you need to run for national office and stand up for some of these issues. And if you don't, I will go on somebody else's radio show and tell them why I think you're an idiot too.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I wish.
But you're not going to be an idiot. I hope.
My dear listeners, I wish I had an answer. I was listening to Frank. I was listening to what he was saying. I was thinking about the decision to not play our national anthem. And I don't Know the answer. Do I like it? No, I don't like it.
Give him the answer, Tony. The answer is shut the hell up, get out of the stadium if you don't want to listen to the United States, and go watch it in Russia or some other place. That's the
I
answer.
want to come back because I know what I'm going to say is going to put Frank on another rant. But before we do,
I know freedom is
let's
freedom.
remember
Freedom and that.
no,
So much
no,
freedom that we destroy
hear
ourselves
me.
from within.
Frankie, hear me, Frankie. There are good things in the United States. We focus on all the bad things, but there are good things.
Best country in the world.
There are good things. And sometimes we focus on so many bad things that we sometimes forget all the good things.
Our enemies.
Friends. Well, Frank, you spent most of your time over the last hour and 30 minutes or so talking about every bad thing. I'm going to spend the next 2 minutes talking about a few good things. Family.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Friends.
Yep.
Fresh vegetables from Antioch Ranch, especially those tomatoes. Have you seen those tomatoes, Frankie? Whew.
No time.
Simple.
So I grow my own tomatoes in the backyard. I already told you I'm Italian. I don't need to eat.
In River Oaks?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. That soil in River Oaks ain't nothing like...
You told me before I didn't live in that community.
Well, you don't really live in River Oaks. I don't know where you live. But,
no, I live in outlying region because I'm still a working man. Unlike you live in the rich part.
Simple sandwiches. You know what my favorite sandwich is, Frank? It's a tomato, white bread, and toasted white bread, and a tomato, and a little bit of Duke's mayonnaise. Have you ever ate a sandwich like that?
I've ate a tomato sandwich, but I had mozzarella on it instead of Duke's mayonnaise. But it's close enough.
Close enough. Cold beer. I'm not even a beer drinker.
I'll drink a beer.
But every now and then, on a really hot day, a really, really cold beer. And you know what else, Frank? And I know you agree with this. I'm just trying to add a little bit of positivity, Frankie.
There's a lot of positivity.
A little positivity. You know what's positive to me? Dogs.
Oh, God, don't get me on dogs, man. I like dogs.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I like dogs a lot more than humans. A lot more than humans. Do we have any callers we need to talk to?
Yeah, we have.
All right, let's talk to a caller.
Houston.
All right, Debbie. What do you got, Debbie?
Hello?
Yes, hi, Debbie.
Yes, Debbie.
Hi, this is Tony and Frank.
Hi, Tony and Frank. I love listening to your radio.
Thank
you. And Tony, I met you at the New York Bagel Shop with me and my dad. My dad's 90, and we met you. I don't know if you remember us.
Are you talking about in, where was that at? That was over there by...
Maplewood? Yeah. Racewood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
It was me and my dad. My dad's 90, and you took a picture with us, and it was nice meeting you.
How are you doing?
Good. So
Happy 4th.
The venting here.
All right,
go ahead, vent. I like that, vent.
Go ahead.
Even if you don't like what I'm saying, vent. Go ahead.
I'm actually Team Frank. Sorry.
Oh, goodness gracious. Everybody is. We're going to have to call this Talking with Frank.
I do, but I'm like dividing the lines here, too.
All right, go ahead.
Frank, as far as China, I feel they are trying to take over. They want to be the leader.
The dominant leader.
Yes, they do. And you know, they had that coronavirus and they kept it hush-hush because they figured if their economy was going to go down, that everyone else's was going to go down too.
That's the best spin you can put on it. That's right.
Yep. And then as far as Sheila Jackson and Sylvester Turner, they're okay with the protesting and the large crowds and the funerals, but then all of a sudden, stay at home.
And I agree with you. And I have no problem with the protesting.
No, I don't have a problem with the protesting either.
Part of us, but as long as this, and then this is something that was pointed out, okay? The Constitution provides for peaceful protest. It doesn't provide for anarchy. It doesn't provide for rioting. And the point is they had all this protesting, and the people were not wearing masks. They were like so closely packed, and they're spitting on each other, talking, and everything else, sweating on each other. It's hot in Houston. And then what happens? Huh? The coronavirus? Nobody talks about that.
Oh, no, not at all.
Right.
You guys should go have coffee together. Y'all are clearly like minds. That's a good call, Frank.
I know. I was thinking, I'm like a
Frank, she needs to get a hat with your name on it.
A nicer version of Frank. Are you saying my delivery's no good?
No. Thanks for that call. I really appreciate your call.
Thanks, Debbie. I appreciate it.
Debbie's awesome. I hope she calls back next week. Frank, I would be remiss because we're in the 30 minutes left. I gotta talk about Frank, and you're gonna love this because you're like me. You're a gun nut. I'm a gun nut. I'll be honest. I own thousands of guns. I know that's a real gun nut, right? I like to shoot. Grew up as a hunter. Grew up out in the woods. I started hunting when I was literally in kindergarten with a 20 gauge double barrel shotgun. My dad would put me out in the woods and say, "Boy, stay right there, sit by that tree, and I'll be back to get you in 3 or 4 hours." My dad taught me how to shoot, responsible gun ownership. All the things that you learn, that you should learn before you own a gun, and how to properly use a gun. But that brings me, the segue is to aguilaammo.com. Take this down. If you're a gun owner, if you're somebody that appreciates shooting, whether you're a hunter, whether you're a guy or gal that likes to shoot skeet or traps, as some people call it. In East Texas, we call it skeet. Whether you're somebody that likes to shoot pistol, whether you're a person that likes to shoot rifle, shotgun, whatever you are, check out aguilaammo.com. Let me make sure I spell it right for you, because it's AGUILA ammo.com. Aguila, for those of you that know, means eagle. This is a company that's been around, since the 60s. One of the largest ammo makers in the entire world, based in
22 bullets for mostly.
Oh man, all kinds of ammo. And the great thing about them is if there's, it's hard to find. A lot of times if you're a guy like me, or if you're a gal that likes to collect weapons, a lot of times there's some ammo that's hard to find. Aguilaammo.com, that's your go-to place to find that unique ammunition that you might not be able to find otherwise. So I recommend them highly. They are a great sponsor. I encourage you to go to aguilaammo.com. Check them out on their website. Let me spell it again for you. AGUILA ammo.com. Great sponsor. Great ammunition for those of you that are really into guns, weapons, or maybe you're thinking about getting into that. Now, let me switch gears. Frank, I've been wanting to talk to you.
Taking a break, Tony. We're taking a break.
Let's take a little break, and we're going to talk about those folks in St. Louis. We'll be back.
Yeah, that's a good one. I got something.
I figured you did. We'll be back. We like old AC/DC, don't we, Frank?
We're back on the air, Tony. What are we going to talk about? You said I think you meant Missouri, not Oklahoma.
First thing, we don't have a lot of time left. It's funny to me how fast 2 hours goes. But let me say one thing, and then we're going to get to something that I think that you have a lot of opinions on. I was just telling the Facebook Live watchers that across the city of Houston, it's been estimated that there might be as many as 1 million stray dogs across the city of Houston. And I want to give a hard plug and a lot of encouragement to those of you that are animal lovers, whether you're a cat lover, animal lover, rabbit lover, whatever the case may be. Support these organizations. Citizens for Animal Protection, we call them CAP, Huts for Mutts, Houston K911 Rescue, which is where I rescued little Bo, who's down here at my feet right now as we broadcast. Friends for Life, and another organization called This Is Houston. And that's just a thumbnail sketch of the many different organizations that are working for animal rescue. And it's a big issue. The administration of the city of Houston has literally done nothing with regard. And some would argue, yes, they have. Well, I would meet me somewhere. We'll argue about it. But right now, I want to switch gears. The news of last week, of this past week, there was a protest in St. Louis. A group of protesters, they say somewhere between 100 to 250 people, went into, in St. Louis, Missouri, they allow you to have, unlike a lot of places, private streets. You can fence off streets, and it's a private area. And the allegation is that a group of course, we know the protesters went into this neighborhood. There's an argument or a controversy as to whether they broke down a gate or they went through a gate, but there's no doubt that they were on a private street. And there was a couple who, and it's become a meme all over the internet of this 60-something-year-old man wearing a pink polo, holding an AR-15, and his wife holding, I don't know if it was a 45, 19, it was a 1911. I don't know if it was a 9mm,
I think.
Yeah, but anyway, she's holding it with her, her hand her finger on the trigger, which is probably not good, the right way to hold the weapon. But whatever the case may be, so it's kind of been in psychology classes, they call that the ink blot test. As you look at it, depending on what political, where you are on the political spectrum. On the one hand, people say, well, of course, they're in a private neighborhood and they're coming through and they feared for their lives and they're entitled to protect themselves. And other people say, I can't believe they pointed a weapon at the protesters and they should be prosecuted. Frank, let me guess where you are on this.
Well, let me ask you where you are on this, Tony, by answering you where I am, okay? You live in a nice house, right there. I'm not going to give the address, but right in the center of the, very nice part of River Oaks, the premier part of River Oaks. You have 200 people walking down your street. They burst through a bunch of gates. They basically start yelling at you. We're going to kill your dog. We're going to burn your house. We're going to come for you. Just because you're you. Now, they don't know anything about this guy. These protesters knew nothing about this man. He was a lawyer. He is a lawyer. But he was also a supporter of Black Lives Matter. But it didn't matter because they were going to take his property and his house and threaten his dog and his wife and who the hell knows what else. And this guy was like, he had 35 years he spent building that house. Now, look, man, I've represented black communities all over Louisiana and in Texas and everywhere else. And that's not what I hear from the people. That's not what I hear from the pastors. That's not what I hear, that kind of thing. These people are marching there threatening his property. And do you think that you would hesitate? And this is the question for you, Tony. If they're yelling all that stuff at you and they're threatening all your hard-earned, which I know you had blood, sweat, and tears go into what you did coming from where you came from with no help from any political situation or any kind of financial situation. This was pure grit on your part, my friend. And that's why I admire you. And that's why, as an old man, I take my hat off to you because of what you have accomplished, because of your tenacity. But
are you asking me?
Are you at this point, would you not take your gun out and stand on your porch and point it at these people and say, you come over that fence, you're dead meat?
I'll tell you what I do.
I'll tell you what I do then.
Somebody breaks through my gate, all bets are off.
All right.
Okay? Okay? Now, the only constructive criticism I would provide, and I would say this so that people know, and there's people listening to this who are people that are listening for, they're entertained and they're enjoying it and they want to participate, and there's people who listen to this who try to use this against you, Frank, or against me for their own, nefarious purposes. I don't give a rat's behind either way. Can I say ass or no?
Yeah, you can say ass.
I don't give a rat's.
An ass is a donkey and also a symbol of the Democratic Party. You can say it.
Okay, I'm not getting into the politics of that, but I'm just saying.
I was an ass at times. I've been an ass.
Yeah, I don't give a rat's ass. You want to use some recording.
Rat. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Both Democrats and Republicans.
You want to give you want to use something I say, against me. I don't give a rat's ass. But I will say you this: you come through my fence, and I got my kids there.
And your wife, you have a wife right now, but Francis, you have Francis there.
All bets are off, my friend.
Exactly.
Because I'm going to protect myself.
And I don't think anything needs to be
I'm going to protect my house.
Except that
And-
the spineless governor, Missouri, should be stepping in and telling that political prosecutor in St. Louis to back off because they're not going to allow this kind of lawlessness to happen.
And I guarantee you, now, the only criticism, the only constructive criticism I would have to that couple was that, you know, lady, you didn't have to point that at people, and you shouldn't have your finger in the trigger well. But that's just somebody, I know how to use a weapon, and I'm not sure she knew how to use a weapon. The other man, her husband, was standing there accidentally pointing the AR-15 at her the entire time. So, I, you know, as somebody that's been on
domestic violence situation, I don't know anything about.
As somebody that's been on many Marine Corps rifle ranges and has shot, you know, millions of rounds, if you will. You know, you muzzle awareness is the key.
I get it,
buddy.
buddy.
One of them.
These guys are civilians.
But lay that aside. You know, being able to protect your house when you think you're in danger. If we're going to bully people into saying you can't even do that, well, you know what? Let's move somewhere else.
No. We ain't moving anywhere else. We're standing our ground, and if they come across the fence, look, man. I mean, we've all gone out, and we've gotten more guns. We've gotten more weaponry. This is what they're doing to this country, but on purpose, Tony.
And I guarantee you, and let me tell you this, and this is a pet peeve. I guarantee you, those two. And here's the thing: you know, those lawyers have represented African Americans who have been victims of police brutality.
Yes.
They fought. I forget the government entity that they allege systematically discriminated against African Americans in home loans. They have a long history of standing up for people that they felt like had been shut out of the system and had been cheated by the system and wronged by the system, and now they're being eviscerated, and there's going to be a political prosecutor in St. Louis, I guarantee you, in St. Louis, who's going to do everything he or she can do to get some kind of charges against that couple who was standing on private property with their weapons defending their home.
We got two calls. You want to take?
I got a couple other things I got to say before we take another call, Frank. Because I want to ask. I got to ask you something.
By the way, the protesters also set up a guillotine in front of Jeff Bezos' house. But go ahead, and he supports them.
It's just
go
crazy
ahead, ask me what you want.
I mean, it's crazy to me because maybe I'll be targeted next, and I've represented people that have been discriminated against for literally 20 years. Maybe I'm going to be the next target.
And I have in my career as well.
I mean, it's just like
and supported them financially while they were hurt. Both of
because
them.
I don't support somebody who burns down somebody's business or shoots up a police station. I'm never going to support that, Frank.
God bless you.
I'm never going to support it. So Trump is at Mount Rushmore, I think tomorrow for a fireworks
show. No, tonight while we're talking on the radio here.
Oh, it's tonight. So what's the deal on that?
Well, I mean, I made a joke about it the other day. I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up with a jackhammer and says there's going to be a new face put on the mountain, and it's going to be him.
Well, that's a bridge too far.
No, that was half in jest.
Have you seen Mount Rushmore? Have you been to Mount Rushmore?
I have seen Mount Rushmore.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and also it was in an Alfred Hitchcock movie that I loved. Okay,
which one?
North by Northwest.
Oh, North by Northwest.
But let me just say this about that, okay? I'm proud of the fact that our president doesn't cower under the desk. I'm proud of the fact that our president is not like hiding from the virus. I'm proud of the fact that our president goes out to Mount Rushmore, celebrates the 4th of July, and leads this country in the spirit that we deserve. Are we going to sit in our rooms cowered up with our masks on and everybody sniveling? And look, when my mother was dying in my house for the last month of her life, we had a birthday party for me because it was my birthday and my dad's, and we had a birthday party, and she was dying of cancer. We celebrated that. We celebrated Christmas. You celebrate life until you die. Otherwise, what's the point of living? You celebrate.
Here's my counterpoint. And I hear you. You heard all the numbers, and of course you may challenge them. And you think that they're manufactured.
Doesn't matter.
Liberal element. But right now in our country, according to the statistics, and these are government, and again, I mean, the government's run by Donald Trump et al., but 2.8 million.
You think so?
Well, okay. I don't even want to get into the deep state and all that foolishness. Can we just focus on? Let me just focus for a minute. 2.8 million coronavirus cases, 131,000 deaths across the United States in the state of Texas, 183,000 coronavirus cases, 2,500 deaths in the state of Texas. My question to you: should Trump be at Mount Rushmore celebrating the 4th of July and with the crowds that he likely will bring?
Yes.
Thoughts? Why?
Because we live until we die. Okay? We're not going to hide from this virus. We're not going to hide. I don't say be stupid about it. If you have ill health, if you have any problems, even if you want to go to the thing at Mount Rushmore, and you feel like maybe I've been exposed, then stay home. Stay away from your elderly parents. Stay away from something. Quarantine yourself. Whatever. But don't hide. Don't hide and make the state make you grovel, make you ashamed. I can't go out. I can't go to Mount Rushmore. I can't see the fireworks. I can't do anything. Well, what the heck are we doing then? Why don't we do nothing? Why don't we just stay in our house, look at our computer screens like all of these protesters probably did, probably 90% of their life or more, and live no life. Live no human contact. Live no humanity. Of course, that's what the state of China would have there. Look at their population. But Tony, and then speaking of that, they just
got to take a little break, Frank. And I don't want to cut you off. We're going to take one more break. We got one more segment.
We got a couple of calls I want to grab. I don't know.
We'll try to grab them when we get back from the break. Talking with Tony. We'll be back shortly.
Absolutely, Mount Rushmore. Are you kidding me? President of the United States goes to Mount Rushmore and he leads the troops. And then where are the troops? Okay, the country is still living. The celebration of our independence needs to be celebrated. We can't live in fear. We have nothing to fear, as Churchill said, but fear itself. And that's what's going on in this country. And all the dominating communists, socialists, corporations, all the rest would want to dominate our activities to the point where we are nothing but robots. Nothing but robots. And the point is, I'm not going that way. Okay? I know I've lived a great life. I've had my highs and I've had my lows. Like I said, but I love living. I love being able to enjoy my dogs. I like walking outside, okay, on my property. I like living. I enjoy laughing. I don't enjoy being told that I need to hide myself. If I choose to go and expose myself, if I choose to go swimming and I don't, or jumping off cliff diving, and I happen to dive off and break my neck, I've assumed the risk. And it's my fault. But I decided to go do it. And everybody knows it's dangerous. Do I want the government telling me I can't jump off that cliff in the national park because I might break my neck? I don't think so. But this is on a larger scale. And I don't want people to say, though, look how stupid he is because he doesn't realize that this has to do with our hospitals. Of course it does. But you know what? The death rate's not going up. We don't hear about a lot of people on ventilators. There's been no request to the federal government for ventilators. There's been no request to the federal government for the hospital ship that was in New York. There's either in California, the one that was out there. They didn't use it out there. They haven't requested it back. In Texas, we haven't requested it. In Florida, they haven't requested it. The point is, yes, people are going to get sick from this coronavirus. We got to live. If you get it, you get it. Now, if you choose to wear a mask, go ahead, wear a mask. This is America. You can wear a full bodysuit.
All right, we're coming back. We're coming back. And Frank, I would say something about you, Frank. You're what we call in East Texas a piece of work. You're a piece of work. You get all bent out of shape. You go off on these long tangents. And
I want to tell you something.
Yeah, I know you always want to tell me something.
I want to tell you this: the Chinese just got a
shipment.
They just got a shipment seized of human hair. that they're taken from the concentration camps of the Muslims.
What? Okay, what?
The federal government.
Where are you getting your news from? Onion?
No, man. The federal government sees products made from human hair in a crackdown on Chinese forced labor. Now that sounds to me like Adolf Hitler, doesn't it? And I can say it because my Jewish friends should be cringing at this.
Frank, have you been to China? Have you ever been to China?
I've been to Hong Kong when it was free, when it was under the British, and after that.
I went to Hong Kong. I'm talking about, have you been to China? Mainland
I won't go to that communist country. I don't ever want to go there.
Interesting. I want to, before we close out, I'm gonna try to talk about one thing, and I hear you, and listen, maybe you should.
Did you hear about the human hair I just told you about?
I heard you, Frank. It doesn't float my boat.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can have concentration camps in that country where they rip down our country. And by the way, the South China News was reporting about how Mitt Romney and these other joint senators, the Republicans and Democrats, want to restrict the president's power by moving troops out of Germany. What's the damn smartest thing I ever heard? They got an East communist prime minister there, Merkel, and she's running the country doing business with the Russians, who are her former allies. She's from East Germany, and buying.
They're taking it. I think Putin's taking advantage of her. That's just my.
No
thought,
kidding.
Man.
So what does Trump do? I mean, this is why I like the guy. He says, I'm going to move our troops out of there, and by the way, I'm going to move them to Poland. I'm going to move them right up to the front. And by the way, the Polish people are going to buy our natural gas, while Merkel won't.
Let's all recall from our U.S. history, or our world history class, what was the first country that Hitler rolled over?
Poland.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. I want to switch gears.
Okay.
I want to switch gears real quick because I'm on a tangent, and I've talked about this every single week. Our police chief. I'm sorry, I got to do that, Frank. I know I do it every week. I got to go there again.
We got a couple of calls. You want to do that?
I know, but I trust me, man. This is something that's got to be out there on the radio waves. I mean, I'm watching Facebook Live. I'm on the radio, 700 AM. KSEVradio.com. I got to say this, Frank. It needs to be said.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
We have a police chief that has decided that he wants to be the mayor of Houston. This is a police chief that came from California. No offense, you Californians, because I know a lot of you are coming to Texas. Welcome to you, but guess what? This is Texas. This is not California. Welcome, but this is Texas. This is not California. A lot of you folks from Austin now figured out, oh, you know, Austin ain't as great as we thought it was. Now you're coming to Houston. He came from California to Austin, where he was embroiled in major controversy because he would not close cases of sexual assault against women. Tons of sexual assaults that he refused to investigate, did not make sure that the rape kits were processed, and wasn't run out. I don't want to say he was run out of Austin, but he would have been run out of Austin. And then he comes to Houston. And all of a sudden, here he is in Houston. And then his time came. His time came. Guess what happened? Protest. Police brutality. All of a sudden, he's marching on the streets without a mask, Frank, by the way. Marching on the streets with 60,000 people. And he's down there talking to the protesters with his bullhorn. I'm with you. I'm one of you. Look at my skin color. Look at my skin color. I'm one of you. I'm just like you. I'm against police brutality.
And no, what he said was, I'm a minority city.
It makes me madder than a hornet's nest. It makes me so mad, and let me tell you why it makes me mad. It makes me furious because this is the same guy. This is the same guy on the Hardin Street raid 2 years ago who oversaw, and my brother-in-law is a police officer. I love police officers. I back the blue, but there's always bad apples. We saw that with the George Floyd situation. But let me tell you something. When there's a bad apple, heads roll. I guarantee you, when I was a lieutenant in a weapons platoon, United States Marine Corps, if one of my guys did something, I would suffer the consequences. When I was a recon company commander in the United States Marine Corps, if one of my guys had done something that Goins did, this police officer Goins did, my head would roll. His head hadn't rolled. Instead, what he did was join hands with protesters and protest against police brutality. But let me remind every listener, I only got a few minutes, but I want to make sure we're never going to forget this. This police chief, who wants to be now your mayor, oversaw a group of police officers who, with no warrant, let me take that back. They had a warrant, but it was based on a lie. They obtained a no-knock warrant. Let me tell you what that means. That means they can come to your front door and kick your door down without even announcing their presence. They went to this house on Hardin Street in Houston, Texas, kicked the door down with a warrant that was based on a lie that they got from a municipal judge that was appointed by this mayor. They lied to get the warrant. They busted down the door. They busted down the back door as well. They shot the person's dog. They shot his female companion. And then when he pulled a weapon to try to defend himself, they shot and killed him. And they indicted the police officers involved in the raid. And now they've indicted some of the people higher up. But guess what has not happened? Neither the police chief, who wants to be the face, he was on The View of all things, as the face of police reform across the country. He has not apologized once, and neither has this mayor, even though they murdered 2 people in their homes. That is unacceptable. And don't forget it. When this outlier carpetbagger runs for mayor, because that's what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do, Frank. What say you?
I don't think you can call him a carpetbagger.
I can call him whatever I want.
Well, good.
California.
Good. I'm glad you finally come around. You can call him whatever you want. I agree with you, okay? I agree with you.
It just makes me really mad that he's never apologized to that Tuttle family.
I know.
That Tuttle family was murdered, and he never apologized to them. And he comes over here from wherever he came from, and he comes over here, and he pretends like he's the face of reform, and he is the poster child of why we need reform. Yes. That's what bugs me, Frank.
I understand, my friend.
I know it gets my goat, man. That gets my goat. It's like, I always ask you what's the burr under your saddle. Well, that's the burr under my saddle.
It
bothers me every time.
Ask me that question.
Yeah, I know. We only got a few minutes.
You want to take a call?
Yeah, let's take a real quick call, but we only got 2 minutes left. Let's make it quick.
Okay, let's say Jared. You've been holding for a while.
Hey guys, am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, you're on, Jared. Go ahead.
All right, I'll do it quick. So I don't know if they pegged your quote last time, but I have one of myself. It's for every 1,000 hacking at the leaves, you only have one person hacking at the root.
There you go.
And I think that's the issue with these movements. And as I said last time, there's no way for the silent majority to mobilize, unify, and actually operate at a local government level how we should.
That's right.
But that's something we need to focus on because that's where change happens. That's where we don't allow this individual Tony's referencing to get the mayor's seat because we're hip and we know all of these things.
Thank you.
So there has to be a mechanism that comes about that allows for that, that's not censored like these platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and such.
Thanks, Jared. We got to go. We're getting to
the... You're exactly right, Jared.
You're exactly right, Jared.
William,
Call back next week. That's a great
call.
Call
back next week. We want to take your call. I saw you up there. Please call back next week. Good job.
Frank, you've been fun. I hope you enjoy. I hope you get a little fireworks tomorrow, maybe some barbecue, maybe some sausage.
I got fireworks tonight. You guys got me going.
You're going to do it tonight. All right. Well, this has been Talking with Tony.
Stay safe, Tony.
Frank.
Come back next week.
Come back next week. We appreciate you listening.
Is that me up there on the wall you got hanging?
Yeah, that looks like a big hog.
Yeah, that looks like a big hog.
It looks like a javelina or a Russian hog.
It's a javelina. It's a javelina. I shot it in South Texas. I killed it with my own gun.
Man, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
You've been listening to...
See you later, Frankie.